on this 9-acre farm outside Troy, Missouri.
A horse can feel your heartbeat from 4 feet away.
Jim Brown, all alone,
Come here.
cares for the horses
This is Donna's horse.
he and his wife love dearly.
She likes the country lifestyle.
A lifestyle he now has to imagine without her.
It's just not fair that you're telling me that I've got to be a bachelor the rest of my life because of some stupid policy.
Jim, a veteran, and Donna, a full-time healthcare worker, married about 8 years ago. A simple life of faith, family, and friends. Jim says Donna's the first to help others in times of trouble.
Donna is there for the underdog.
But now she is the one fighting for her freedom.
My wife is not a criminal.
Donna, an Irish citizen, came to the U.S. when she was just 11 years old, a legal resident alien or green card carrier, but not a U.S. citizen.
It takes about 10, 15 years, and it's very expensive.
All was well, Jim says, until July in Ireland for a family funeral. On the way back at customs in Chicago, Donna was arrested.
You don't arrest 58-year-old grandmothers. It's just wrong. That haven't committed crimes. You just don't do that.
More than 30 days now spent behind bars at a county jail in Kentucky. The U.S. government attempting to deport her.
Do you think she could, in fact, get deported?
Oh, 100%. It's egregious that we have allowed a government to allow this to happen.
So why is it being allowed? Turns out 10 years ago, Donna wrote a bad check, charging documents say for $25.
She was a single mom.
She paid it back and got probation. But Jim says the U.S. government is all of a sudden arguing that was a crime of moral turpitude. The U.S. government says that's a term used in the immigration context that has no statutory definition, but courts have held that moral turpitude refers generally to conduct that shocks the public conscience as being inherently base, vile, or depraved, contrary to the rules of morality.
I mean, do you think it's a crime of moral turpitude?
I think it's nonsense. I think it's a blanket thing to catch everybody to fill beds.
A direct result, he says, of the Trump administration's aggressive immigration policies.
They signed this stupid bill that is torturing innocent people, and that's the problem. She was unlawfully detained by ICE.
Now he spends countless hours on the phone trying to reach his wife, protest what he calls deplorable conditions in jail, and get her released.
She's been in this country 47 years, is married with 5 kids and 5 grandkids, and you're telling me she's a flight risk.
Contacts, he says, to his representatives have gone nowhere. Governor Mike Kehoe's office in a letter said it was a federal issue only.
I want somebody to have the guts and the fortitude to stand up and say, you know what, this is wrong.
You fought for these freedoms that are being taken away from her.
Yep. 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 20 years service. And it's crazy that this is happening. It's just crazy that this is even allowed in this country. That's the problem. It shouldn't be even thought that this should be okay.
And Jim says he won't stop fighting for Donna.
She's married to me. She should have citizenship by being married to me. Go on. There you go.
Hoping she will soon be free.
There's also a lot of damage we need to cover. This video, or this photo, I should say, in Clayton and the Central West End. Also, we're seeing damage in North City, too. These are photos from just north of Forest Park. A tornado touched down in this area. We know there are trees down, signals mangled, and debris really just everywhere.
And here's another look at damage in North St. Louis. This is a shopping center near Kings Highway and MLK, right behind the Urban League. A lot of damage here. Windows shattered in many of the buildings, and as you can see, that roof gone, a partial collapse, in fact. A nail salon there and other businesses, and we've heard from people there that had to take shelter and even had part of the ceiling collapse on them. Luckily, everybody seemed to be okay there. But here's a live look at Centennial Christian Church near Kings Highway and Delmar in North City. A lot of damage. The roof damage, the bricks that you can see there that are just ripped off of that building, and people consoling each other because We have learned from emergency responders at least one person has died at this scene.
I'm near the intersection of Kings Highway and Martin Luther King Boulevard. I'm at a shopping center that's owned by the Urban League, which is just across the parking lot. The roof collapsed while people were inside. Some of them were working, some of them were taking care of customers, a nail salon. They had customers, and the roof just fell in on them. Nobody seriously injured, but there were some scrapes. Adam, if you could just hang on a second, I'd like to interview this woman who was inside here. So let's back up a little bit. There was a woman who was inside at the time.
I need to get my stuff up. Hold on, baby. This man won't talk to me.
May I ask you real quick, ma'am, you told me that you were inside this business right here.
Yes, I was in there with the owner.
Describe what happened.
Well, we were, a friend of mine, Lisa, that owns Heaven Sent, she was decorating. She had set everything up for the wedding, and I was just putting some flowers on the backdrop, and all of a sudden it started raining, and I could see the wind blowing real hard, and I told her, I said, look at that. And she said, run, get in the office. And by the time we got in the office, the whole building just collapsed, and it fell on our back, and we were both in the office. We stayed there until I think it's one of her family members came, and he got us. It was 3 of us in there, and then the people from Archway came and helped get us out. We climbed through the window in order to get out, but we wanted to be careful because there were live wires in there. And so I just said it might be a bad Friday for some people, but for me it's a good Friday, because when you look at this building, that lets you know it's a God, because there's no way that we could have walked out there, and we just kept praying.
If BJC were to know my identity, I would lose my job immediately.
This whistleblower terrified of retaliation.
I'm willing to take that risk if it means that I'm keeping my patients safe.
As a care provider with close knowledge of hospital systems, they're more terrified of what they say is a potential danger inside BJC facilities.
Patients should not be being treated with these pumps. These pumps are not safe.
IV pumps are an absolutely critical part of hospital care. They're the machines that carry medicines or blood directly into a patient's veins. Truly life-saving, but only if they work correctly.
They still have the potential to cause great irreversible harm.
And that's exactly what this whistleblower tells us has happened. Recently, they say some BJC facilities replaced their IV pumps, switching from the brand Alaris to the Baxter Novum IQ large volume pump.
It's the Novum IQ infusion platform, giving you the support you need to help save and sustain lives.
Billed by the Baxter Healthcare Corporation as state-of-the-art, the pumps were cleared by the FDA in April last year. But within days of implementing them in BJC facilities, the whistleblower says staff started seeing and reporting major malfunctions.
Do you think people need to be aware that there are issues with this manufacturer?
I do. I absolutely do.
Issues, they say, like blood backing up into the tubing, the pump appearing to work but actually administering too much or too little medication, and worse, instances of the pump acting like a vacuum, sucking an entire bag of medication into a patient at rapid speed.
Is that a major problem?
That is a massive, horrifying problem. There are some medications that you can only get at a very specific rate. And if you were to get all of that medication at once, there's no coming back.
BJC will not confirm any of the whistleblower's claims, saying only, quote, due to HIPAA regulations, we cannot respond to any specific patient situation. And though we asked a number of detailed questions, a spokesperson declined to even say what type of pump they are using at which facilities, only saying specifically that no recent new pump technology has been deployed at Missouri Baptist Medical Center, but they would not comment as to which pumps are being used at any other facility. They provided a brief statement that reads, quote, as part of BJC's commitment to innovation that improves patient care, we regularly introduce new technology and do so under strict conditions. Delivering advanced care safely in an environment that supports healing is at the forefront of what we do. But the whistleblower says BJC is well aware of pump malfunctions. They provided us an email sent on March 3rd to staff acknowledging that, quote, there have been issues, saying Baxter is providing additional in-servicing / problem solving.
At this point, has any solution or fix that's been offered been sufficient?
No, they have all been Band-Aid solutions.
And nothing, they say, was wrong with the old pumps.
As soon as, these really horrific events started happening, why were these old pumps not pulled immediately?
Are you scared?
I am scared. We are scared. When a patient starts to not do well, we worry, is something going on with the patient or is my pump malfunctioning?
Missouri's Department of Health confirms to First Alert 4 Investigates they have received a complaint about the Baxter pumps, saying it will be reviewed and triaged following their normal process. Another brand of Baxter pump called Spectrum was the subject of an FDA alert last month, the company acknowledging an issue that could result in serious adverse health consequences. And last year, Canada warned consumers about a subset of the Novum IQ pump due to the potential for the keypad to malfunction. First Alert 4 Investigates also analyzed an FDA complaint database. Just in January and February this year, Baxter Healthcare reported close to 140 serious issues with its Novum IQ pumps. We don't know where the reports stem from, but the complaints indicate issues like the pump administering drugs at higher than ordered rates, others indicating no flow at all. 6 reports in just 2 months indicated an injury.
I will tell you, I've heard concerns with every infusion pump on the market.
Ricky Chase, a former investigator for the FDA, familiar with IV pumps, says unfortunately complaints against all brands of the medical devices are not unusual.
It's an inherently challenging medical device that, from a design perspective, has not been perfected.
Issues, she says, are often underreported by hospitals generally, but serious overdoses from IV pumps, she says, are not common. Still, if anyone has concerns, including patients, they should report them to the FDA.
Make sure that the healthcare providers coming in and paying attention to the alarm, pay attention to the medication that's being put in there, right? If the medication is all of a sudden disappearing very quickly, that's a problem.
My intent is not to instill fear or cause panic to our patients or their loved ones, but I do want them to understand the risk.
This provider says they do simply want patients to be informed.
And it is such a privilege to provide them care, and I just want them to know that we are fighting for them and we are trying to raise the red flags and do what is right for them.
Well, I'm advocating for as many illegals who are in Missouri to be deported as we possibly can.
We are going to deport illegal immigrants.
We will begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
On the precipice of a new era in American politics, immigration, a pressure point. Tonight, First Alert 4 investigates immigration and people living here illegally.
Plus, what proposals of mass deportation may mean for St. Louis, Missouri, and Illinois.
I'm not here to do nothing bad. I'm here to work.
St. Louis is also a city that has been built with immigrants.
The Mississippi River in the past, a path for people seeking something new.
An influx of immigrants built the region's backbone. But now, what's the future, especially for those living here without legal status?
Maybe it's worth it to risk my life to find something better for my family.
This is Beyond the Border, Unauthorized Immigrants in St. Louis. Fiery feelings on all sides of America's complex immigration issue.
The question is, how will Donald Trump's deportation plan play out in the bi-state? I'm David Amilati.
And I'm Lauren Traeger, and together we are the First Alert 4 Investigates team. There are no borders here, of course, but just how many undocumented immigrants live in our region and what happens if they're removed?
These are some of the questions First Alert 4 Investigates set out to tackle. The immigration issue presents many challenges. Data is lacking, some are fearful, and others are angry. But we want to give you the facts before a new administration takes shape.
Is it realistic to deport everyone who's here illegally?
You have no choice. First of all, they're costing us a fortune. But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals.
So let's first define who we'll be talking about. Those in our country unlawfully, meaning without inspection by the U.S. government, but not necessarily off its radar. We won't refer to them as illegal, nor as aliens. Some crossed into the country illegally. Some arrived here legally, say on a visa that expired. They are all undocumented or unauthorized, and one St. Louis expert says they're all around us.
But just how many are here? It's a number difficult to calculate. Even Missouri's own U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt did not have any more than a ballpark figure.
I think I've seen a number recently. It's in the in the thousands, and it's a problem.
So let's take a look. Researchers say nationwide immigrants considered undocumented live mostly in just a handful of states: California, Texas, Florida, New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. A 2022 American Immigration Policy Study says there are more than 460,000 undocumented immigrants in Illinois, most though in the Chicago area. In Missouri, that number was around 59,000, just 1% of Missouri's overall population. And of those who are here not legally, more than half, 55%, have been here more than 10 years.
First Alert 4 Investigates met with one undocumented immigrant. He's proud to call St. Louis home, but he says he does fear what's to come. Tonight, he shares who he is and why he wants to stay here.
I'm not here to do nothing bad. I'm here to work.
Meet Luis. He lives in St. Louis and works as a landscaper.
For me, it's like a career. I like it.
He tells me he provides for his wife and 4 kids.
And I'm feeling that in the side of the good people.
Luis says he came to the United States as a child, just months before 9/11.
So I feel I belong to here.
He says his father paid coyotes to get his family into the United States. A coyote is a person who smuggles immigrants across the Mexico-United States border. It is roughly 1,700 miles from his hometown in Mexico to St. Louis.
They help you to cross, or you take your chance by yourself. Both ways you're taking a risk.
Today, his mother and father both live nearby. And like Luis and his wife, they are unauthorized.
That way, my mom and my dad, they can meet his grandkid, you know?
Keeping his family together is his top priority, which is why he's agreeing to explain how he's able to work, own a home, get married all legally, despite not having a legal status to be in the U.S. He says he is able to buy a house and car with an ITIN number. It's given by the IRS and shows proof of paying taxes. He says he uses this number to get a bank loan. Luis and his wife have a signed wedding certificate on file with the city of St. Louis. With no driver's license, he says he uses a government-issued passport for ID.
And how did you get the passport?
To the Mexican consulate.
And where is that?
Kansas City. Sometimes they have a mobile unit, they come here.
It is these reasons Luis says unauthorized immigrants are far from undocumented.
They know me.
This is why he disagrees with claims he and people like him are stealing jobs from U.S. citizens.
Do you agree with that?
No.
Do you think it's wrong for your employer to hire people who are undocumented?
No. Because he gives a chance to everybody. They just don't want to be doing the job we do. As soon as I work is going to provide food to the table, we're going to do it. No matter it's like hard, easy, or dirty, or clean, we're going to do it.
No matter how hard he works, his status is still the same, and many are critical of his existence in the country, while millions immigrate legally into the United States each year.
Is that fair?
That person was able to come here the right way. He had that luck. I don't have that option.
He says immigrants, legal or not, in 2025 will most likely have fewer options, with President-elect Donald Trump promising mass deportations.
People are going to be more afraid to be here because they feel like they have to be watching their back all the time.
Is there a concern that the government could take your parents, you and your wife, deport you back to Mexico and be separated from your kids?
It's a little bit scary, you know. I'm not going to lie, you know, to one day, you know, get in trouble, sent back to Mexico and not be able to see my family. But in the same time, I try not to think about it.
Now in the new year, there might be a path for Luis for citizenship through a U visa, and recently found a lawyer willing to help him get that permit. It will grant him 4 years to work legally, and in that time, he can get a green card or lawful permanent residency.
I just feel more like like American.
If you had to do it all over again, would you move to Missouri?
Yeah, I feel, for me, I'm from here, like, you know.
Experts tell us it's not illegal to rent to an undocumented person, so it all depends on landlords as to where they live. Economists also tell us they tend to live wherever there are jobs to work.
Okay, let's get out to another bit of our reporters here. We're starting to get people spread out. They've been fighting their way through traffic to try and get a look at some of this debris as we've been talking about roads blocked. Our Shoshana Stahl is near Skinker and Wydown in the in the Clayton area. Tell us what you're seeing there, Shoshana.
Yeah, Sam, we were on our way to the Central West End, and we were just in traffic for about an hour, bumper to bumper, with trees down in the roadway on Skinker. Take a look behind me here. We're right near Forest Park. You can see big trees down all along here. This is something that you're going to see all throughout Forest Park and as you go from Clayton to try to get into the city near Central West End and to Bolivar area. But take a look over here. We just talked to someone whose car was busted out by some of those tree branches, and you could see all along here several of these cars experiencing busted out windows or windshields or just extensive damage from the trees coming down. Take a look over here. You could see that there's even pieces of tile from this church across the street here, all strewn across. That means it went from the church all the way across Skinker and to the ground here. Several of these pieces even larger. I mean, take a look with me over here and you could see, look at the size of this coming down from that church across the street here. So we're just seeing extensive damage from the winds and from the rain here in the city and in the Clayton area. So this is something we're going to continue to try to talk to people out here about the damage that they're facing. But from what we've seen so far, going anywhere from the Clayton to the city area, there's going to be extensive traffic, a lot of trees down, debris in the roads, and just expect a lot of slowdowns, and also expect to see a lot of damage as you are driving home in this rush hour time today. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
First Alert 4 is following the money when it comes to how opioid settlement dollars are invested across the St. Louis Metro. We told you recently, St. Louis County hasn't spent any of its $16 million it's received. Now First Alert 4 Investigates has uncovered another local government raising questions about how it's using its settlement dollars and has residents sounding the alarm.
DeAndre Buckner was a star running back at Kirkwood High School, helping lead the Pioneers to the playoffs in both 2007 and 08, with his sights set on playing the game in college.
I felt like the star's mom. Yeah, he was recognized everywhere we went, and he was a joy.
His mother, Angela, says when he was redshirted as a freshman, her son spiraled, turning to heroin to fill the void.
I didn't know how to get him to stop. I didn't know how to help him.
He dropped out of college, and at 25 years old, DeAndre died of an overdose in 2015.
That's how I remember him, is with a smile on his face.
Angela says Kirkwood lacked resources to support those fighting addiction, despite its affluent reputation.
It doesn't have a face or a color or income bracket. It's everywhere.
Key details on where opioid settlement funds are spent do not always make it on reports to the state. It took a separate request from First Alert 4 to find out an alternative response vehicle was actually this Ford F-350 truck with department decals and a brand new snowplow used by the fire department for inclement weather.
No, it doesn't make any sense. I think it should be put back and use what it was intended for.
Kirkwood Fire Chief Jim Silvernail tells us that snowplow truck is used for emergency responses.
That alternative would be to get into hard places, or like, for example, the last snowstorm, we would use that vehicle to access patients, and all patients really, but not just opioid, but also opioid patients.
But he could not recall a time it's been used in response for an overdose.
I don't have an exact specific example for you, unfortunately.
First Alert 4 Investigates asked the mayor, deputy mayor, a long-serving council member, and the city attorney to speak on camera to explain this opioid settlement spending. Only the mayor and council members called us back, declining interviews, but over the phone say they don't remember allocating the roughly $70,000 last year.
This is money that people died for.
Local drug policy expert Chad Sabora says most of Kirkwood's opioid settlement spending falls under general public safety and is not specific to opioid issues.
Lots of people have been hurt and their lives have been destroyed, and we owe them better.
It's unclear if Kirkwood consulted with any experts or people with lived experience. Both Sabora and Buckner say there is still time to better invest what money remains.
They could have invested in a city education program for overdose response for bystanders. They could have set up some naloxone distribution points.
People are dying from this every day, so it's never too late, but it should be done.
This is a breaking news alert.
Breaking first at 5, a trail of smoke billowing into the air after a disaster on the Mississippi River. Right now, an investigation is widening into the crash of a helicopter onto a barge. The eyewitness accounts, the video, all of it first here on 4. And Drone 4 first in the air over the wreckage this afternoon in Alton. Take a look at this. That is the helicopter which 2 people were in. It is now barely recognizable after that crash. The accident in Alton happened right after 11 this morning. The helicopter had a crew working on power lines on the Missouri side of the Big River when it clipped a line and crash landed onto that barge below. Thank you so much for joining us. We have live Team 4 coverage at 5. It begins with our Corey Stark, who is on the ground for us in Alton, where some of our first eyewitness accounts come from. Corey, they are incredible eyewitness accounts.
There were several witnesses. In fact, they were fishing the Melvin Price Lock and Dam, popular place to fish. They were just below the dam, and they said they saw the helicopter make several trips from this side to that side, working on those high tension lines. But then right before their eyes, they saw a tragedy. Eyewitness Charles Kemp got emotional when talking about seeing the helicopter crash. Here's how he described what he saw.
It was a white flash and then orange flames, like a red or orange-red ball. Then it was black smoke, and you could hear the pop.
Here's the helicopter shortly before the crash. It's seen here ferrying a crew to the top of a transmission line tower. A short time later, witnesses watched as the helicopter crew began to attach one of these high visibility balls to one of the power lines.
And it seemed like the helicopter was a little off kilter, I would say. Maybe had a little weight on one side.
Adam Briggs says he looked away for just a few moments and then later heard the sound of an explosion. Then he looked up, and here's what he saw.
I just saw it probably 30 feet from the ground. As I had, the time I heard it to pick my head up, it fell rapidly. As soon as it hit the barge, it was black smoke and flames. I heard the explosion. I heard probably 6 to 8 more smaller ones.
The helicopter landed on a barge in the Mississippi River. First responders couldn't access the crash by land, and it took some time for firefighters to launch their boats and reach the scene, but others tried to help.
Take your kids off your social media.
This local mom who asked we just call her Rachel wants to warn you.
They're not safe. If you've shared them on social media at all, even 2 words of their voice, they can be used for bad.
In August, her phone rang.
I saw my daughter was calling. It was her picture and her phone number.
And a voice that sounded just like her college-age daughter.
She said, "Mom, I had an accident. I rear-ended somebody and they're taking me." And she was crying.
Just how convincing was the sound of her voice?
It's my child. I know my child's voice, and it sounded exactly like my child's voice that I've heard every day of my life.
A car accident and then a kidnapping. Rachel convinced her daughter was in extreme danger.
They would take her and do whatever they wanted for days as they leave the state, and I will find her body parts.
In fact, just listen for yourself.
Would have to take her with us and make her pay us with her body.
Rachel recorded the whole thing.
Because obviously you need to understand that you say something tomorrow, next week, whatever there will be consequences. You understand me?
For nearly 2 hours, the man tells Rachel that she can save her daughter.
Okay?
Only by sending money.
I have $3,270 in my bank account.
Threatening her.
What I do expect from you is to be grateful as a woman and as a mother. You understand me?
And sometimes sympathizing.
And I'm going to tell you something. I don't even have to tell you this. You don't even have to know, but I got a daughter myself.
He gives her step-by-step instructions on how to wire money to Mexico at both a local Walmart and Walgreens, pretending to be following her.
It was like he was right there watching me the whole time.
Rachel says the ruse was so real.
If I wasn't talking, he was yelling at me.
She didn't have time to think.
I was just really scared for my daughter. Really scared.
Only when her real daughter started calling on the other line can you hear Rachel's real-time realization.
Oh my God, you're so busted.
With her daughter safe, she breaks down.
I thought I was never gonna see you. I thought they were raping you. They told me they would kill you and I'd have to come find your body and body parts.
Violated. Traumatizing.
Robbed not just of her life savings, she says, but so much more.
Opened a whole nother level of fear for almost every day of my life since.
I wanted to find them and strangle them. I really did.
Anger, too, from other local parents.
The person on the other end of the phone sounded exactly like my son.
Nearly duped by the dark side of technology.
The adrenaline that just soaked over me because I really was convinced it was him.
It is very scary.
And Dick Herber, a cyber expert based in Wentzville, says scammers at some point likely infiltrated Rachel or her daughter's phones.
People today really don't understand how easy it is to clone or burn a phone.
Help me, Mom. Then they cloned the daughter's voice using AI.
Less than 10 seconds of your voice is all I need to be able to make a clone of your voice that would fool anyone.
Mom, I'm scared. In fact, Ann showed us just how easy, mere seconds of my voice.
This is Lauren Traeger with First Alert 4 Investigates.
And she could get me to say anything.
I'd like to talk with you about your car's extended warranty.
It sounds a lot like me.
And I can make it say whatever we want it to say.
Mom, I'm scared.
That is really alarming. It is just very frightening how quick that happened.
Ann says similar scams have always existed, but with new and cheap AI tools evolving every day, she says they're only getting more sophisticated.
When it comes to cloning voices, is there anything that you can do to protect yourself?
The answer to that is probably no, because we're very free with the utilization of our voice.
That's what's the scariest, is that they know everything.
Rachel reported it all to several law enforcement agencies.
What have the authorities done for you?
Zero. Nothing.
She says she's been told it's an overseas cyber crime.
They have threatened to kill my entire family, rape and kill my daughter. It's not just online, it's real to me.
Do you want them to be found and held accountable?
Absolutely, I want to find them. I want them to go to jail. I want them to be punished for what they did.
Parents, she says, must beware or you could be next.
Because obviously, anything I wanted to do with your daughter, I would have already done it. I don't need your permission to do anything to her. You understand me?
Experts say there is one critical thing you can do to protect yourself, and that is have a secret code word for your entire family. So if a scammer calls you up, you make them give you that code word before you proceed with anything. And experts say it's not enough for just the kids or the immediate family to know the code word. Everyone in your extended family should also be looped in. That way, if grandparents, aunts, or uncles get the call, they too will be protected. And lastly, experts say you need to actually practice using that code word, kind of like a fire drill, so it's in the back of your mind in case you ever get that kind of phone call. We've got a lot more tips on the First Alert 4 News app. For First Alert 4 Investigates, I'm Lauren Traeger.
We're not covering objects here, we're covering livelihood.
It is really, truly the most destructive tornado this nation has seen in the last 15 years. The trauma is so enormous.
Listening to you on this weather before it hit, I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be like this. But that's part of what saved my way.
It is unbelievable what people are going through right now.
Are we getting close to a time where we sunset tornado sirens and try to move on to something more effective?
My flat roof was totally peeled up like a sardines can.
Is it a cliche to say this actually has brought political leaders together?
No, it is not a cliche.
What I like to see is, how people come together and try to help each other through this.
Death, destruction, and a community pulling together. Today marks 1 month since a deadly EF3 tornado ripped through the St. Louis metro. The storms killed 5 people that day. Some residents are still picking up the pieces of their lives. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of First Alert 4, After the Storm. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, joining you from the Fountain Park neighborhood in North St. Louis. As we look back on this destruction and the path ahead, we first want to remember those killed in the storms that day. 5 people. We were able to get photos of 4 of those victims you see now. Fathers, mothers, wives, and grandmothers killed as buildings crumbled and trees slammed down in the winds. Over the next hour, we're detailing what happened from the path of the twister to a tornado siren failure. We're digging into that day, but we're also looking forward, taking a look at examples of building stronger and making sure you're prepared if a storm like this hits your home. But first, a look at the more than 20-mile path of the tornado. It first touched down in Clayton. At that time, it was producing between EF0 and EF2 damage, ripping out trees as it made its way through, busting windows and tearing parts of roofs off many homes. It went on to Forest Park, hitting the northern area, While farther south, extensive damage to the zoo was from straight-line winds on the southern portion of the storm called the rear flank downdraft. Forest Park Forever says hundreds of trees were damaged throughout the park. At businesses near the park, roofs were ripped off and windows were shattered. From there, the tornado made its way through North City, where the worst of the damage occurred. The National Weather Service says at this point they believe the tornado was up to a mile wide with winds over 150 miles per hour, completely decimating homes and leaving the personal belongings of thousands strung along everywhere. Then the Metro East was hit. The National Weather Service determined the tornado did travel across the Mississippi River, hitting Granite City and the Pontoon Beach areas. By that point, the tornado had weakened to EF1 or EF0. Surveyors determined the tornado was on the ground until it lifted near SIUE.
Somebody trapped in the house?
We hear him in the basement and there's an active gas leak. Can you see my light? Okay, so he's more over there.
And today, a new look at the aftermath. The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department releasing this body camera footage moments after the storm blew through the city.
This is my holy grail, my co-wash.
This keeps my edges intact.
You need your edges.
We have oil, because you got to lock in all of the moisture. See, this is the point.
This is the problem.
This is the problem.
Being black in the newsroom can be a tough thing to navigate. You're trying to find a voice that represents all people, no matter race, color, or creed, while still facing racial disparities of your own. And if that isn't enough, add in our hair.
So the first time I saw anybody who looked like me on camera or on TV, they were wearing wigs, and it was a very, it was a hairstyle that you knew that they had to wear, not that they chose to wear.
You didn't see the kinky, curly hair, especially with black women. It was always, it had to be straight.
I grew up watching the news every night, and we would turn it on and we would see black faces, black women, of course, but they all looked the same.
Washington University African-American Studies professor Raven Mirage Lloyd says it goes back much further and much deeper.
Melba Tolliver was famous actually for not wanting to cover up her afro in 1971 when she was covering Richard Nixon's daughter, Tricia Nixon. So not wanting to cover up her afro on camera was a way in which black women sort of worked the cracks. We sort of make little movements wanting our afro on camera in order to show people what we look like and when we wake up or in real life.
I remember sitting in news directors' offices as 23, 24-year-old reporter and wanting to be an anchor, and the news director asking me, while I'm wearing my natural hair, well, what are you going to do with your hair when you anchor? and I remember looking at him, and the next words out of my mouth were, well, this is the way God made my hair, so this is probably how I would plan on wearing it.
Early African-American journalists had a history of being agitators in the name of civil rights to have their voices heard and to spark change. Their personal experiences of injustices like segregation and racism was directly linked to their professional career and the questions they asked.
So the perceptions of journalists have been, one, of being ignored, and two, of always sort of being close to our sources and being agitators. And what that means is Black journalists have sort of been pressured to tamp down their appearance, right? Because they're seen as agitators, they have to sort of be calm and less threatening, meaning lighter skin, right? And straighter hair. Those standards of beauty, Black journalists sort of feel pressured to conform to.
I think for so long we were taught this is how you look professional. This is how you climb the corporate ladder. And I think it's important to embrace yourself. It's important to embrace natural hair because that's how it grows out of our head. And that's not something that we should be ashamed of.
Growing up in a house where my mom is white and my dad is black, I didn't get a lot of the education on black hair. So that even made the transition, why am I so emotional about this? It made the transition, I think, a little bit more difficult because I didn't have the skills to be able to wear my hair naturally in what I thought was going to be professional. It's hard.
The issue works its way all the way up to the national network. CBS Morning's Nate Burleson is known to rock his hair in many hairstyles, from braids to twist. He chimed in with his own experience.
There are people that will look at my hairstyle and say, no, that's
That's not professional. Mr. Burleson, we like it when you're clean cut. You know, I want to see your hair short, or I like a little tiny flat top. I don't want it too big. It's distracting. I've received these messages from both white people and black people, and I have to be honest, as confident as I may be, hearing those comments and reading them and receiving these DMs and messages, it does cause a little insecurity. It makes me question how I want to wear my hair when I leave the house.
Especially as a woman, so much of your femininity and your beauty is your hair. And so when you come in and you don't know what to do with your hair, people are telling you that what you're doing isn't good enough to be where you want to be, then what do you do? How are you supposed to feel in a space? How do you show up as yourself? All because of what's on my head.
A lot of times we find that when we can't exhibit who we are, it tends to dampen or dim our light. So we find that we're not as outspoken as we once were, or we're not focused in certain spaces that we should be focused in because we're constantly thinking, is my hair okay?
Rachel Nordrozo is a licensed professional counselor who's witnessed firsthand how these tones can affect someone's identity and says that confronting the issue head on is best.
It's never about you, and it's always about me wanting to represent who I'm supposed to be 100%.
Black women are 1.5 times more likely to be sent home for their hairstyle and 80% more likely to change their hair based on what they believe is acceptable at work. It's going to take work from all of us to make a more definitive turn.
Do you find yourself paving the way now?
I do, because I think that it's nice to see that we all come in different shades, different sizes, and that we all have similarities, but we express it differently. I want people to understand that you could be in corporate America, you can have a bomb silk press, and then you can wear your hair natural the next day, and then you can wear braids. It's acceptable.
I have to be the best version of myself. And in order to do that on camera, I have to be authentically me. And being authentically me is dressing the way that I want to dress, which is professional with a little bit of pizzazz and pop, but then also wearing my hair in a way that makes me feel comfortable. Because when I feel like myself, I can be the best version of myself on camera.
At the end of the day, we have to continue to move forward and not let hair hinder anything.
Anybody who has any type of issue with the way anybody wears their hair, I don't care if you don't like somebody's pink hair. What is it to you? If it's in braids, if it's straight, if it's curly, if it's purple, if it's green, I don't care. Who is the person that's underneath that? And how is that person showing up? That's the part that matters.